Hi, I'm Anna and welcome back to my channel Real Raw Rentals. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over how to make an amortization schedule in Excel. In a previous video I made, which I will link in the upper right hand corner, I discussed all of the equations you need in order to make an amortization schedule, but I didn't go into how to specifically do it in Excel, so that's what we'll be doing in this video. Okay, so now we're in Excel and I've just typed in some basic information we'll need. So I just called it the mortgage amortization schedule, then the purchase price, percent down, down payment, loan amount, loan term, interest rate, monthly payment. And then I also included the total principal paid, the total interest paid, and the total paid overall. And then this part will be our actual amortization schedule, which will show your month, interest, principal, balance, and equity. So to start off, you can pick any purchase price you want. This is one of the numbers that you will plug in yourself. It's not a number that this Excel will calculate for you because the Excel doesn't know what your purchase price will be. So for now, I'm just going to say $100,000. Now, to make it dollars, I click up here on the dollar sign and it makes it dollars. I don't want it to show the cents because I'm not worried about the cents, so I'm going to press on this indent button to make the cents go away and just focus on the dollars. So percent down, that is also something that I want to input. It's not something that Excel will calculate for me. So I'm going to say that I am putting 20% down. 20% is equal to 0.2 in decimals, and so I put in 0.2 and then I type percent. I press this percent button up here and it changes to 20%. Now my down payment, this is something that Excel will calculate for me. So I can say equals to my purchase price. I just press the equal button and then I click on the purchase price amount up there, and then I do the multiplication sign and then my down payment percent. So once I have that, I press enter and I've got my down payment amount right there. In terms of the loan amount, that is also something that Excel will calculate for you. So with my loan amount, I'm going to press equal to my purchase price minus my down payment, enter. And the reason for that is because the loan amount you're going to get from a bank or other financial institution is equal to your purchase price minus the down payment that you've put on the property. Now the loan terms, this is something that you can choose. You might do 15, you might do 10. The most common is 30, so I'm going to say 30 years. Again, that's something that you can change for yourself. And then the interest rate is something that will depend on your financial institution and your credit score, among some other factors. So I'm just going to say 3.5% for now. Again, when you're doing percentages, you have to divide by 100. So 3.5% is 0.035. I press that, and then just to make it easier to understand, I'm going to press this percentage button up here again. Now it says 4% because it's rounding up, so I'm going to click up here to add significant digits to make sure that it actually shows my 3.5% instead of 4%. So the most tricky part we have to do is actually calculating the monthly payment that's going to be due. So in order to figure out what your monthly payment is, you can go back and watch my previous video on that, which is linked in the description below. But in order to put it into your Excel document right, you just have to focus on making sure your parentheses are in the right spot. So I'm going to say that my monthly payment is equal to, I'm going to click on my loan amount, and then I'm going to do the multiplication sign. I'm going to add a parentheses, and I'm going to say my interest rate divided by 12. That's because my interest rate is my annual rate, but I'm trying to find my monthly payment, and since there are 12 months in each year, you have to divide your yearly interest rate by 12. I'm then going to multiply, add another parentheses, and I'm going to say 1 plus, again, my interest rate divided by 12. Then I'm going to do the close parentheses, just one close parentheses. I'm going to do this little arrow or caret symbol, which means I'm taking it to the power of, and I want to take it to the power of the total number of months that my loan will be in existence for. And so the total number of months will be my loan term of 30 years times 12, because again, there are 12 months in every year. Now, it's important too that you have parentheses around your years and months, because otherwise Excel will not realize that you're trying to take to the power of both of them. Then I'm going to do a final close parentheses, which matches up with this parentheses I have before the B8. I'm going to divide that by open parentheses, another set of open parentheses, 1 plus, again, I'm going to take my interest rate, I'm going to divide by 12, and then close one set of parentheses, take it to the power of, again, open parentheses, the number of years times 12 to get the number of months, and then subtract 1. The last thing you have to do is close your last bit of parentheses and then press enter. So here we have it, and in this case my Excel doesn't understand that it's dollars, and so I'm going to put that $sign. And just to make things simple, I'm going to get rid of some significant digits just so I don't see how many cents I owe, because I understand I'm going to owe some cents, but that doesn't make a huge difference for me. And the nice thing with Excel is that even though it's not showing me that there's cents, when you use your monthly payment to make all these future calculations, it takes into account all the significant digits it has. So it's going to be totally accurate no matter how many digits you show in this overall table. So that was definitely the hardest equation. And again, check my other video if you want to get a better understanding of what those numbers are and why you're putting them where you are. But since in this video we're focusing on actually making your own amortization schedule in Excel, I just plugged in the numbers as they were without explaining them much. So now we get to go to the actual amortization schedule. So in terms of the number of months, I already have them listed here, but what I can do is delete them to show you a trick, because writing out your months for 360 months is not super fun. So I'm going to delete that. What I can do is just type the first few. So I'm going to type 0, 1, 2, 3. That should be enough. Now what I do is I highlight those 3. And because they're in sequential order, Excel is smart enough to realize that you're trying to make them all go to 360. So what you do is once you've highlighted them, do you see this little square here? I click on the square and I drag it down, and you can see this number that's changing as I drag it down. So that shows you what number you're at. So I can drag all the way down until that number says 360. And so once I get there, so we're right here. So I got to 360, I let go, and then all of the numbers show up, which is very helpful in terms of making a table like this. So the next thing is to figure out the interest and principal. We're starting at month 0, as in starting before you've actually started paying off your mortgage. So the interest that you've paid in month 0 is 0 because you haven't paid anything yet. The principal that you've paid is also 0. Now I already have set all of these different squares and boxes to be numbers, but if you don't have it, then when you press 0, you might just get a number like that. So all you have to do is go up again, press this money symbol, and it'll switch it to $signs for you. So I'm going to put this back to general. Now I have my interest, my principal are 0. So my starting balance before I've paid anything off is equal to my loan amount, because that's what I'm starting with and what I have to pay off. Now my equity is always going to be equal to my purchase price minus whatever balance I have remaining on my loan, which right now is $80,000. So if I press enter, I see that my equity is $20,000, which makes sense because that's how much I paid for my down payment. Now, just as a side note, this equity is not including any appreciation you might get. It's solely the equity based off of paying off your mortgage. So now we can move on to the next part of the amortization schedule. The next row is where it gets a little more interesting. So we know that our monthly payment is going to be $359. We want to figure out what percentage of that, or how many dollars, is going towards interest versus how many dollars is going towards principal. So the way you figure that out is that you set this equal to the balance of your mortgage times the interest rate divided by 12. because again, your interest rate is an annual interest rate and you're focusing on months versus years. So you press enter and there you have it. That's your interest rate. Now the principal is similar, except it's your monthly payment minus the interest that you paid. So that means that out of your monthly payment in the first month, you paid $233 of interest and $126 went towards your principal. Now your balance is always going to be the balance from the previous month minus whatever you paid towards your principal for that month. So in this case, you paid $126 towards your principal, so your balance is decreased slightly. Again, your equity is always going to be equal to your purchase price minus the balance that you have on your loan. Now, you could go through and do the exact same thing for all of these different rows, but it's pretty inefficient, so there are fun ways in Excel to save you some time. So first of all, if we look at our interest, what we want to do is figure out what it's taking into account. So it's taking into account the previous balance. The nice thing with Excel is that you can click on one of the boxes, and where you see the little rectangle or square at the bottom, if you pull it down, it'll autofill the next row. And so the next row is saying, okay, I understand that the interest I'm paying is based off of my previous balance. So it went and it took the previous balance from month 1, whereas before it had taken the balance from month 0. So this is great that it's figuring out what balance it should take. The issue is it also moved down from the interest rate to the monthly payment, which is not what we want. So what we want to do instead is go back to the original one. We want our balance to change as we go down, but we want our interest rate to stay the same. And so our interest rate is B8. So wherever you see the B8, you put a $sign in front of the B and a $sign in front of the 8, and then press enter. And all that's going to do is tell Excel that your interest rate is always going to be in this box, and that's what you want to focus on. You then can either drag it down like this, or just double click on that rectangle and it'll auto-populate everything. Right now, it's showing a bunch of blanks because it's looking at, for instance, if you look at this one, it's looking at the balance of month 8, which we haven't filled in yet. But as we continue to fill in the rest of these items, then all of these values will get filled in as well. So next, we look at our principal. Our principal is always going to be our monthly payment minus the interest we paid that month. And so again, our monthly payment is always going to be the same. So we always want to focus on our B9 cell, which means we're going to put a $sign in front of the B and a $sign in front of the 9, and then press enter. Again, I want that to auto-populate all the way down to month 360. So I'm going to double click on that little rectangle and it'll auto-populate all the way down. Now in terms of my balance, if we see how we calculated that, we calculated that based off of my previous balance and subtracting the principal I paid. That is perfect. We don't need to add any $signs to that equation. So I'm going to double click and we get auto-populated down there. Now in terms of my equity, that is based off of my purchase price and subtracting the balance for that month. So my purchase price again is never going to change, which means I put the $signs around the B3 and then I press enter. Again, I can just double click and it'll auto-populate all the way down. So if we scroll all the way down, what you can see is that when we get to the very bottom to month 360, we're only paying $1 in interest. The rest, $358, is going towards our principal, and our final loan balance at the end of the month is $0, which means the equity is $100,000, and we have officially paid off our mortgage. Now, if we scroll back up, the last thing we want to look at is the total principal paid. So the total principal paid is going to be equal to the sum of all the monthly principals paid. So you can type in sum, then do open parentheses, highlight and drag all of the principal payments. And if you drag all the way down, once you get to 360, then you can end dragging down and you can put that, it's dragging slowly for me, but once you get all the way to 360, you stop there and then You press enter, and it has calculated your total principal paid. It makes sense that your total principal paid would be the same amount as your loan amount, the $80,000, because once you've paid off your principal, you've paid $80,000. So in terms of your interest, you can do the same thing where you type sum, open parentheses, again, take your interest and drag it all down. There are some easier ways to do this, but for time's sake, I'll just focus on this. And so we go to the very last and we press enter. And there we have it. Our total interest paid is $49,325. So to find the total amount we've paid towards our mortgage, I'm going to press equal to the principal payments plus the interest payments. So the total amount that we paid towards our mortgage was $129,325. The last thing I want to know is what percentage of the total amount I paid for my mortgage went to principal versus interest. So to figure that out, I can say equals, click on the principal paid, divide that by the total paid, and it shows me 62%. Yours might not show up as 62% originally. If you're in the general, it might show up as 0.6 something. And that's fine. If it's like that, then just press percent and it'll switch to percent for you. Similarly, I want to know what percent I paid towards my interest. So I say equal, I click on my interest payments, I press divided by the total, and then it shows me the total percentage. So for this particular example, I paid 62% towards my principal and 38% was interest. Now, you could go through and change this however you want. You could make it a $250,000 purchase price. You could also change it to, say, 50% down. You could change your interest rate to 5%. You can go ahead and change things up like that. And when you do that, if you scroll all the way down, it should still show you that your loan amount has gone to $0 at the end of your term, which in this case for me is 30 years. And my equity is the full purchase price of the property, or $250,000. So one more thing that might be of interest for people is when you see the months here, if you scroll down, for instance, 320 months, I don't really know how many years that is. I know it's pretty close to getting to 30 years, but I'm not sure exactly how many years. So if you want to easily figure out what year you're in, I'll add another column that says year. And when I do that, I'm then going to figure out what year I want it to be. So for the very first month, for month 0, that's year 0. It really doesn't count as any particular year. But then going forward, for the first 12 months, I'm going to be in year 1. So I could go through and type 1 12 times, but that would get really challenging if I have to go all the way to 30 years. So instead, what you can do is you can say equals, and you can say ceiling of whatever month you're on divided by 12, and then you have to put your significance. I'm just putting 1 because I only want one significant digit. And then I press enter. And so it shows me there that I'm at year 1. If I double click here, you can see it goes, and then in month 13, it switches to year 2, and all the way down till when you get to the very bottom, you'll be at year 30. So that's just a fun way to figure out easily what year you're in. I'm going to highlight all of this so that I can center it all and make the formatting a little nicer. So I had a comment on one of my previous videos of how you could actually figure out how much you've paid in interest for any given year. So for instance, if I want to know how much I've paid in interest in year 6, I can look and see that this is year 6, and so these are the interest amounts that I've paid in year 6. What I can do then is just take the sum of it. So I'll say equals to the sum of every interest payment in year 6, which is from here to here, and then close parentheses, enter. And so in year 6, I paid $5,686 in interest. So this is the mortgage amortization schedule. If you have any further questions, please let me know. I have uploaded this Excel into a Google Sheet link, which will be in the description below. And so you're welcome to go to that and download it yourself and try it out, or you can try making it on your own. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like it and subscribe to my channel to get more videos like this.